Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Miguel, and in this video I would like to develop this VAT calculator. So basically the user should input in value something like €100, select in tax rate, maybe 19%, and then the user could add the VAT, so the value added text, or remove it. The goal of this video is to write down this application and use the knowledge from our last video. So we are going to write down some functions and a procedure actually inside in class. And I hope that you learned something from this video and see you in the development. So let's get started, and before you start I would like to say that I changed some options in Lazarus. Therefore I pressed Tools, Options, and I changed my tab width to 2. I like to disable Smart Tabs. I also like to change my colors to Delphi, I'm not sure why. And I like to have something like an instant code completion, and therefore I changed the time to nearly 0. So before we start, we need to create a new project. If you have already opened your last project, go to Project, Close, and then New Project, LCL Application. Basically, our user needs to input some kind of information, basically the value and the tax rate, and therefore we need to drop down some components. So let's start with a label and rename it to value. I also like to add an edit component so that my user could write something in this component. I like to change the name of this component to EDT value. I also like to change to the text to something like 100. And maybe I should even add another label with information about what to type in. In my case it's euros, but actually in this application it does not matter. So we also need a tax rate, so let us just copy our 3 components. But actually I think it would be better to use a combo box, because the user could select between different existing tax rates. Let me just insert some basic values, so go to items, it's in T strings, and then write something down like 0, 7, 19%, maybe 20, but it really does not matter. I would like to change my item index. The item index is a property covering the active selected item. In my example it's 19, because in Germany 19% is really common tax rate. I also like to change my my third or fourth label to a percent label, and of course I also have to rename it to something like tax rate. Oops, I'm sorry. Basically I also need to rename my combo box to something like CBB rate to have a better access to my component. Let me just assign or adapt the size of this application. It will be a really small application, and this application will have 2 basic operations. First of all, we need to be able to add the VAT or value added text, and therefore I like to add a button called btn add VAT. We also need to be able to remove the VAT, so remove VAT, btn remove VAT. That's basically all what we need. And we also need to display our results, and therefore I would like to group the result in a group box, something like this. I like to rename this group box to results, something like this, and I like to display my result in some labels. For instance, value excluding VAT. I like to use a second label, and just type in space filler something like value, and let's rename it to LBL value excluding. Then let's just copy it and set in correct position, something like VAT or VAT. Let's also rename this label to LBL VAT. And last but not least, I would like to display the value including the VAT. So value including VAT. And again, just rename the label to LBL value something including, or type in something that you like. So that's basically it. We could also adjust our form and set maybe the position to screen center. Now our form will start in the center of the screen. We could also change the border style to be as dialog, and of course let's rename it to something like VAT calculator. Now we could save it. Just go to save all or press Shift Control S, I guess. And let's select our folder. I think it's tutorial 10, but I'm not sure. I will just place it right here and rename the project to VAT calculator. Unit 1 is just fine. We are not working with multiple units. So, okay, we could start our application. And now we should start our application, but obviously this application does nothing at all. It's just a group of some components. And now we need to develop our software, and therefore I would like to use the knowledge from the last video. So I hope you watched my last video, because I showed how to define functions and functions and procedures and methods, and now I would like to use it. So I would start with some methods. So methods are, like I said, are functions and procedures inside a class. So we are doing this definition inside our Theform1 class to be more specific inside the public section. At this time it does not matter whether we are doing it in private, protected or public, but I think it should be in public right now. But actually at this stage it does not matter. So we need some functions, and we need a function to calculate our value excluding the VAT and including the VAT, and we need to calculate the VAT. So we need some functions, because something like calc value excluding VAT, and this function will take a value and a tax rate, both are singles, and then, or you could also use currency or whatever, and then it will calculate the value excluding the VAT and give it back as a single. I would like to do the same for the value including VAT. Again, I need a value and a tax rate, and then it will calculate the result as a single. Last but not least, I would like to calculate the VAT itself, and therefore I need the value excluding and the value including, both are singles, and the result will be in single. And now you could do your definition, and I forgot to mention this in the last video, by hand. This is in class definition, and then you have to start with the keyword, so function, and then you have to write down the class name Theform1, because the class is named Theform1, point calculate value excluding VAT, and basically now we just have to copy the declaration, so value, weight, both are singles, it will give back a single, begin and end, and there you go. But there's also a feature in Lazarus and Delphi, but I guess not in Delphi Starter, to automatically do this, generate our functions. And therefore you just have to press Ctrl-Shift-C, and now Lazarus has automatically generated our function. And I have to say that I really like this feature. I use it whenever I can, and it could save quite some time. So let's start with the first function. It's called calculate value excluding VAT, and therefore we are giving back a result. Oh no, I guess we could start with something really simple. So let's calculate the VAT. The VAT is basically the value including the VAT minus value excluding VAT. So actually really simple. The value including the VAT is basically, so result is basically is defined as value and now multiplied 1 plus rate divided by 100. So let me give you a short example. Let's say I want to sell something for 100 euro and my tax rate is 20%. Then I would have to basically do 100 multiplied with 1.2. And I would have to sell it for 120 euros. And it's also working the other way around, therefore I just have to divide by 1.2 and then I'm getting back 100. So 1 plus weight, for instance 20 divided by 100 is 1.2. And so let's do the other way around. So value equals result equals value divided by 1 plus rate divided by 100. So that was really simple. Now we also need to display our result, but I guess we do this a bit later. And we could start with the add VAT button. So this button should do the add VAT calculation. So therefore we need some, or I would like to use some local variables. So let's use value excluding, value including, and VAT. All of these are singles. So when the user press add VAT, the user would like to add the VAT on the value. So the value will be value excluding VAT is now what the user has typed in. So basically float to string, string to float, edt value text. The value including the VAT is now calculate value including VAT, value excluding VAT, and the tax rate, which is basically, I mean, you could type in an integer, but maybe you want to type in a float, and so I'm writing down string to float CBB rate text. So this is an interesting, so the user could also type in something like a user defined value, something like 25%. This is also possible. And last but not least, we need to calculate the VAT, and this is just calculate VAT, value excluding VAT, value including VAT, and this is all we need to do. Now we need to display our result, and actually we need to display our result at two different places, in the first and in the second button. So we could write down another function or procedure in this case. So let's go to the public section and add a procedure display result. Value excluding VAT, value including VAT, the VAT, and all of these are singles. Now we need to display our result, and basically we could do something like LBL, value excluding VAT, caption is float to string, value excluding VAT, value label VAT, caption float to string VAT, and LBL value including VAT, caption float to string value including VAT. This is not the best solution, and we will do a better one after testing, But let's continue with the last button, remove VAT. So remove VAT will be something like, again we need our local variables. I'm sorry. And now when the user press remove VAT, this value will already include our VAT, and therefore value including VAT equals string to float edt value text, value excluding VAT equals calculate value excluding VAT, value including VAT, string to float cbb rate text, and last but not least VAT equals calculate VAT, value excluding VAT, value including VAT, display results, value excluding VAT, value including VAT, VAT. And that's all we need. Now we could just run our application. Did we did a mistake? Oh, actually, we did not. I'm sorry, but we did not display the result in the first button, but now we did. So let's start. And 119 and remove also works, but the answer is a bit too precise. I mean, with 119 it would be fine, but something like 118 is not good, and therefore we could change float to string, and there are different solutions. You could use float to string f, and this will require a format. Float format currency would be in solution. This will already include the currency, but you could also use float format number, the precision something 18 if you're dealing with really high numbers, and digits in my case 2, so in cents, and then I would like to add the euro character. So let's do this with our other float format, number, precision 18, 2, and last but not least euros. Float format f, format number 18, 2, and last but not least euros. And this will work great. So this is definitely a better solution. Now we could also fix some things. So when we start our application, we just have something like value, and this is not really friendly. So we could go to form create, and now we could type in something value including VAT, caption, nothing, LBL value excluding, and LBL, I'm sorry, maybe the instant code completion is not so nice every time, and this is definitely better. So this is basically everything what I wanted to do. I wanted to show you a practical usage of my last video. So we did some functions, we did in procedure, and we worked with it. We also worked with parameters. Of course, you could also write down these basically variables inside your class, maybe public and private, or even here, but that's a bit dirty in this case, because basically the function is using the values, and the values will be outside our class, and this would be not so nice. I hope you learned something, and I hope that you have a better understanding of using our functions and procedures and doing class declarations. And this application is kind of useful, you learned something, and this application will also used in the next video, because I think in the next video I would like to show the debugger and just a short trailer. So a debugger could be used to better trace down problems or errors, or to understand when something is not working correctly. And therefore we will use this application. We will take a look what our variables are doing at runtime, and we will do breakpoints and this kind of stuff. So I hope you liked this video and learned something, and see you in the next video. Bye.